Hello everyone, this is Tara Lynn with Paint, Rinse, Repeat. Welcome to the pink flower. Give me just a moment here while I let everybody have a moment to get on and make sure I am live in all the right places. So I hope you are all having a fantastic morning. Give me just a second here and we'll get started. While you're waiting, if you want to gather up something to paint on and some acrylic paints, we'll get started in just a moment. All right. All right, I see some people here, so that must mean I am where I am supposed to be. Awesome, awesome. All right. Perfect. Well, before we begin, I am going to briefly go over supplies and then we will get started. So what I've got here to create with, hello, good morning, welcome. Oops, shoot. I lost my place. All right, so I'm going to go over supplies here. What I've got to get started, I'm using a 16 by 20 canvas. Tracers are available. So look down in the comment section or in, what do they call it? The description of the post, and you'll be able to find it there. If you want a tracer, I will walk you through how to draw this as well. As far as paint colors go, when I teach, I'm always flexible. I want you to be comfortable changing up the paint colors. But what the colors that I'm using, I've got a phthalo blue, I've got light blue permanent, and I have got Payne's gray. If you don't have Payne's gray, and navy would be okay as well. So you could use a navy instead of a Payne's gray. And then for the butterfly, I've got a vivid red orange, which is really just an orange. I've got cadmium yellow deep. I've got ivory black. I've got white. And for the flower, I've got a light pink and I've got quinacridone magenta. So this is the color palette I will be using. You, of course, can use what you have. Any variations are fine. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Susie. I'm finally seeing some comments up there. But, you know, of course, you can make your flower any color you want. You can change up your butterfly. So that's what we've got going on as far as colors. And then I've got, you know, just general supplies. So I've got some paintbrushes. The top brushes that I always use, small, medium, and large flat, small, medium, and large round. Of course, you can use whatever brushes you're comfortable with. You may need to adjust up or down just based on, you know, the size of the canvas you're working with. I've got a palette to put my paint on. I've got some paper towels, some water. All right, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is just walk you through drawing this design. So if you don't have the tracer, good morning, Pam. I've got my design already drawn, but we can work together and draw this as well. It's not too complicated. So if you are drawing with me, what I'm going to do is find the approximate center of my canvas. And then just below center and slightly to the left, I'm going to make an oval, and that's going to be the center of my flower. So that's where we're going to start with the flower. Hi, Carrie, welcome. All right, so once you have the center of the flower, we're going to be able to draw petals around the flower. Now, what I want you to notice is there's foreshortening in the front and the back. So these are not going to be normal sized petals. So the perspective that we have is going to make the petals in the back very short. So I'm going to draw 2 petals in the back that are super short. And then here in the front, that happens a little bit as well. So I'm going to make these bigger than the ones in the back, but not quite as big as the ones we're going to do on the side. All right, and once you've got those drawn, here on the side, we're going to draw some larger petals, and these are just big oval loops. Don't overthink this. We're just filling in the space. I did 3 on the left. I've got 4 over here on the right. And so that's our flower. And then, of course, we're going to need a stem. So just draw your stem downward. And then off the stem, we've got 2 leaves. So these are kind of just sharp boomerang shaped leaves there. You know, you can kind of adjust those. Add more, add less. But that's our flower, super easy. All right, and then we are going to add our butterfly. And so I'm going to start with the body. He's got a little butterfly head here. And then I just draw nothing too complicated. And then as far as the wings go, I would like you to not be overwhelmed by the shape of these wings. So we're going to draw the center wing first, and it's basically a lopsided heart. So pay attention to this shape. It's really just a big heart. Oops. With a larger loop on one side than the other, okay? It's just a lopsided heart. So once you get that one on, then you can add in the wing that's behind this one, and this one's going to be even more lopsided. So we're going to make this top part more narrow, and then the bottom half of this wing is just going to be a little shorter. So it's still the same shape. It's still that lopsided heart. This part is just going to be a little bit skinnier, and then we add that bottom portion in. And then this shape here down at the bottom is really just a triangle, a wedge, okay? And it's got a little bit of wave to it. So basically, I'm going to follow this line up to start my triangle, and then I'm going to just curve this side, adding some wave, and then you just bring your triangle back in, okay? It's like a big slice of cheese. Nice big slice of cheesecake. That's what we're working with here. All right, so that's our basic wing shape. And then we need to add some of these fun little sections that we are going to paint to make this look like a monarch butterfly. And so on these top wings, I want them to be similar. So here in the middle, I've got this big, it's kind of like a reverse teardrop there. And then over here, everything that I do here, I'm going to do here, but just thinner. So over here, I have this reverse teardrop. It's going to be a little smaller because it's in the back, right? And then up here, we're just going to create these sections, which are kind of like weird, wavy, imperfect ovals, okay? And these are painted yellow and orange. So up here at the top, just some weird oblong, ovally shapes, okay? And then as we get to the bottom of the wing, we're going to create some imperfect rectangles to fill in that bottom shape. Same thing over here. Imperfect rectangles to fill in the shape. And down here on the bottom, we've got a nice large oval in the middle and some longer imperfect oval rectangles coming out from this section. And that is our basic design. And if you drew your sketch in pencil, it is okay if you want to go back over it with a Sharpie or a dark marker to help you see through some of this background, because we are going to add a background layer which covers a lot of the edges, and that might be helpful for you. So if you need to do that, go ahead and do that. And then we're going to get started with the paint portion here. And so the first colors that I'm going to put on my palette is my phthalo blue and some white. Now, if you don't have phthalo blue, ultramarine blue is fine. Any nice bright blue base will work. We're going to lighten it, and we're also going to darken it. So I just want kind of a pure pigment here. I'm using phthalo blue, so I'm going to get that on my palette here. And I didn't clean my palette, so you'll have to excuse the mess. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is a large coat on the background. And so I'm going to get a good portion of this. And then I'm just going to add a drop or two of white to lighten this color slightly. I don't want it to be, too light and bright. I want it to be a medium shade of blue. I might lighten it just a pinch more, but I don't want to go too light. There we go. All right, so I'm happy with this. You don't have to worry about over mixing or blending, but that's the color that I ended up with. All right, and what I'm going to do is just add a nice thin coat of this over the entire background to get started. If you are using a heavy bodied paint and you're struggling to get smooth coverage, you can always just dip in a little bit of water to move that around. I'm going to use up and down strokes because most of this background is going to be a vertical pattern. I'm being a little cautious with my edges here, but you don't have to be perfect because we are going to layer. Usually when we paint with acrylics, we start with the background and we layer upward. So I'm moving kind of quickly, so I'm not doing perfect edges, but I am paying a little bit of attention to where those edges are. And if you thin your paint too much, or if you're using craft paint and you try to thin it, you are going to see a lot more of your brush strokes. So if you are getting that effect, and when I say brush strokes, I mean by moving the paint, you're going to see that canvas poking through. So if that's happening, don't thin your paint too much. But we are adding layers on top of this, so a lot of that will be hidden. I will mention as well, if you have a stretched canvas and have that canvas edge, now is the time to paint that as well. While you've got this nice blue, go ahead and do your edges. If you're creating on paper or in a journal or canvas board or wood board, you may not have to do that. But I always like to do that when I've got my main paint color out so that I don't have to try to match it later. And as you're doing your background, don't forget there is some blue hiding here underneath and around this butterfly by the flower. So don't skip that. Good morning, Lucy. Yes, you should be able to replay this. You can watch now. It should let you rewind back to the beginning, or if you need to watch it later, you can come and use the same link. And it will, as soon as I'm done posting this, it will allow you to start fresh from the beginning anytime you want to. I have almost run out of paint here, so I'm just going to mix up a little bit more. I know I've got to do my edges anyway. So if that happens to you again, it was just to get this color, it was just phthalo blue and a little bit of white. And we're just going for medium blue here. No problem, Lucy. I can't wait to see how yours turns out. I'm so glad you're joining us today. All right, so I've got most of this background finished here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do my canvas edges. If you are working on a smaller size and you're done, or you don't have edges to do, I appreciate your patience as we all get there. And you can let us know in the comments. So this flower that I've got here is sort of like a cone flower or an echinacea. But I would love to know what your favorite flower is. These are one of my favorite flowers to paint. They're really easy to draw, so I love them. We used to have them yard as kind of a wildflower, and they are one of my favorites. So let us know in the comments if you're watching today what your favorite wildflower is, if you've got one. No, what I'm doing is not on camera, but I'm just painting my edges. Another reason why it's good to do these edges as you're working in the beginning is because then when your painting is finished, these edges are already dry and you're able to lift it and move it like you need to. So yes, painting the edges. Oh, tiger lilies are gorgeous. I love tiger lilies. Um, I'm in Ohio. I'm in Cincinnati, and we get those along the side of the highways a lot that grow. I don't know if, at one point they were seeded, but now they grow on the side of the highway kind of wild. And it's really pretty to see, just patches of those nice bright orange yellow flowers on the side of the highway. Here in Ohio, we don't have a lot to look at while we're driving on highways. It's mostly corn and soybean fields. So when we see pretty stuff like that, it's kind of exciting. All right, I'm on my last edge here. Lots of blue. I don't remember the last time I've used this much blue. Lots and lots of blue. All right, painters, I have finished my blue edges. It was quite the task. Okay, lots of blue. All right, if you have any of this background color left over, what I'm going to encourage you to do is just use it up add a little bit of white, change that color just slightly. If you don't have any left over, you can totally skip this step, but I don't like to waste paint, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm lightening it just a pinch, not very much. And I've got this large flat brush, and I'm just going to start adding in patches of this color. So this is if you have paint left over. If not, we're just going to start with the next step. So I'm just kind of spreading this around in large patches. Because our background here is very patchy. It's very splotchy, and so this is the way we can get it started. All right. I'm going to start by creating 3 different colors to work with on this background. The first color I'm going to use is my Payne's Gray. Now, Payne's Gray is a really dark navy tone, and so I'm going to put this right over the mixture that I have going on. And that's going to lighten it just a pinch. But it's still going to keep that navy tone. So the first color is going to be phthalo blue with a little bit of that navy or Payne's Gray. Right. So I've got a bunch of that available right here on my palette. The second color I'm going to get out is my light blue permanent. And I'm going to mix, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 parts of the light blue permanent with 2 parts of phthalo. That to create a light shade here. Hi, Terry. Welcome. I'm glad you could hop on. I'm really excited about this painting. This is a nice spring painting, and I am so ready for spring. I'm ready to see the butterflies and all the good stuff that comes with spring. All right, so we've got kind of a navy blue going on here. We've got a lighter blue, and that was my light blue permanent, and I mixed it with a little bit of phthalo. Now I'm going to put some pure phthalo on here. All right, so these are the colors we're going to work with. I've got 3 sets of colors, and I'm going to start with this light color, and I'm going to start applying patches. So again, just using the side of my brush, and I'm just going to kind of rub in some patches of this color. If the background color picks up and blends in, that's okay. Don't overthink it. So up here on the top left, on the camera, it's not reading much different. So I'm going to lighten this just a little. In person, it's a lot different. On camera, not so much. All right. All right. There we go. There we go. You can see that difference. Okay. So I'm going to take this lighter color, and I'm going to add a few patches of this lighter color. You can kind of blend it in a little bit with your background. It's okay to see brush strokes. Most of the lighter tones I'm going to keep towards the top of the canvas. Got a little light down here on the left side. We're just going to blend that out a bit. All right, then I'm going to wipe this off. Don't need to wash my brush because we're all working in blues. I'm going to dip right into this phthalo blue, and this is going to be my medium shade for the second part. And I'm going to add some patches of this darker color. So a little bit up here. And I'm just blending it in with what I've got going on here in the background. We're just adding some patches of this darker color. And don't be hard on yourself when it comes to this background if yours looks a little different from mine. We're just creating a patchy blue background. So there's 100 ways you can create a patchy blue background and it still look beautiful and good. So don't stress over what we're doing here, okay? All right, so we've got a little bit darker, and then now I'm going to go right into my navy here, which has dried up a little bit. So I'm going to add in just a pinch more. I'm going to use a lot of this darker color at the bottom, but I'm going to bring hints of it upwards as well. So adding in patches of this. All right, for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the placement of these colors. But you can always go back to your starting point. And, if you've lost some of that lighter color, you can always grab some more of that and blend it in. Brighten that up. There's no right or wrong. We're just creating a nice, pretty background to work with here. Good morning, Michelle. How are you? I'm so glad you could hop on with me today. All right, so once you get the base of this background kind of blended in the way you like it, what I'm going to do is go ahead and set that blue brush down, and I'm going to reach for a smaller brush. I've got a small flat, It doesn't matter really at this point if it's a flat or a round. And I'm going to start interblending some of these colors. So where I've got some white, or sorry, light area, what I'm going to do is start pulling some of that light down by adding, strokes downward into the darker area. So we're going to start kind of blending and moving, overlapping some of these colors. And this just creates visual interest. And this is abstract, right? Like these aren't perfect. They can be blendy, they can be opaque. We're just kind of moving some color around. And I'm going to do this in all the sections that surround my light color. And this is kind of fun. Just play with it. Just be loose and free and just add some visual interest on this background with this light color. And once you've done it with the light color, then we're going to do it with that medium color. I did wash off my brush there just because I don't want too much of that to gray out this nice bright phthalo that I've got. So I'm going to find sections that I've got this phthalo blue and just, add some of this into the lighter areas and the darker areas. Make sure if you've got, colors close to the edge that you're brushing those off the edge a little bit. I'm trying just to kind of let my brain play here, not to overthink where I'm smudging. Just playing with the placement, There's no right or wrong. We're just having fun. No rules in art. And then the last color that I need to get in here and kind of smudge around is this navy. keep running out. All right, I've reached a place where I'm pretty happy with this background. So if you would like to keep smudging, it is kind of fun. Feel free to do that. If you feel like you're at a place where you want to stop, that's fine as well. Hello, welcome. Nice to see you, Jennifer. I'm glad you could hop on. All right, so we're going to start adding in some layers on this butterfly. And the colors that I'm going to set out for this, I'm going to start with orange and yellow. And probably a pinch of magenta. So I'm going to set my orange. Hi, Mary. Welcome. Yes, I know that darn work thing always gets in the way, doesn't it? Can't wait to see what you make on the replay. Thanks for hopping on to say hi. All right. So orange, yellow, and a pinch of magenta. Um, Mainly, I'm going to use orange and yellow right from the bottle, but I am going to mix a little bit of that magenta in there as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a round brush, kind of a small to medium size round. Some clean paper towel area here. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down some yellow. And we're filling inside these ovals. So on the top outside edge of these ovals, I'm just going to paint a little yellow in there. And I'm moving kind of fast. I'm not so worried about the edges because I know that a lot of this around the edges is going to be black and it'll cover it right up. So I don't really need to worry too much about what I'm doing. And then down here, as the wings get lower, I'm going to fill in the entire space with this yellow. So where were we? We were in the edges of this these sections of the butterfly with yellow. And the reason why we do this, just kind of as a beginning layer, is because yellows are naturally transparent. So this is going to help us apply that first layer of coverage. And then also it will help us to create that ombre effect later. So what I'm going to do is add in that yellow. Now we are going to work our way up from the lightest yellows kind of to an ombre, going this way to our darkest oranges. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a white on my palette here. I'm going to mix this white with a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to create kind of a nice banana yellow color. And I am going to add some of that banana yellow down here in these center sections of these big parts. So maybe like the bottom 4 here are getting this kind of banana-y yellow. And then I'll come through. I don't even need to wash my brush, just wipe it off and then kind of re-add some of my cadmium yellow around there. All right, in this area, I'm going to add just a second layer of that cadmium yellow. And then what I'm going to do is pull some of this yellow off to the side and add the tiniest pinch of orange. Not very much, because orange pigment is typically much stronger than yellow. Okay, so just a hint of this orange. Just a hint, okay? And then maybe we just add a little bit of this darker color here around the edges. And then we're going to work our way up with a little bit more of this darker color. All right, now I'm going to add more orange. We're going to darken this up a little more. So I'm not quite at that pure orange yet. But just touching a little bit of it in there. And you can be strategic. If you've got a little bit of that tracer line poking through, hide it. Add more layers. Right, so with this yellow orange, I am going to start filling in the areas up here. I forgot my 2 largest areas, so I'm going to do this top one with this yellow orange. And the bottom one I'm going to do with a light yellow. Thank you, Carrie. Sorry I had to quit and get back on. I don't know what happened there. Sometimes Facebook works against us. All All right, so we kind of got an ombre going on. Yellow's down here. Our light oranges are up here. And now I'm going to dip into my pure cadmium orange. And this is kind of a reddish orange. And then I can add, I'm just going to add little bits of it up here. Not a ton. A little bit in here. And then on this side, I'm adding a lot. And then what I'm going to do, my final mixture here is I'm going to take some of this cad orange and I'm going to add an equal part of magenta to this. And this is going to create kind of a bright red orange. And so I'm going to add that where I want my darkest areas to be, which is mostly over here. And I'm just kind of tapping and placing in this color. At this point, I'm not worried about perfection, right? It's okay if a little bit of that yellow pokes through. Once you have all those sections painted in, you can adjust them however you need to. Now you've got some different mixtures to play with, but there's really no right or wrong. Even monarch butterflies, while their patterning is similar, you know, they're all a little bit different, just like we all have, you know, different hair color and different variations with, you know, the way that we look. So you don't have to worry about getting these completely perfect. I like to add little hints of different colors in the areas. You know, there's certainly no right or wrong here. I'm just, you know, you could even just, you know, if you completely chose to cover it with orange and I'll have it one color, that would be perfectly fine as well. Or do whatever is calling to you today. All right. We're going to let this butterfly dry a bit and we're going to work on this flower. For the flower, I'm going to put down in the center here, I'm going to put down a little bit of brownish yellow. So I'm going to start by adding just my cad yellow in there first. Just my first layer. And then opposite of yellow on the color wheel is purple. So I'm going to kind of grab just a pinch of blue, a pinch, just a pinch. A pinch of that magenta and a big old dollop of that yellow and mix it together. And it should make kind of a brownish color. If it goes green, you don't have enough magenta. If it goes orange, you don't have enough blue. And it doesn't really matter if you get this shade perfect. Basically, we just kind of need a dark yellow here. And so there's going to be some shadow on the inside of this flower. And so I'm just going to tap this darker color right over the top of that yellow. And just for some variation, I'm going to tap in some spots of magenta as well. All right, we're gonna get these flower petals painted in. And for that, I'm gonna take my magenta and mix it with a little bit of white. Now I don't want to go too light pink, okay? I want a nice deep to medium magenta. I just want to lighten it slightly. So this is about the color that I'm going for. I'm just going to fill in each petal, making sure that I cover up any outline that I may have sketched. And again, flower petals come in all different shapes, so do not stress about this. If you need to cover an outline, extend your petal a little bit. Um, because as many flowers as there are out there, each flower has slight little variations. Don't worry about shadowing or shading at this point. We're going to do all that in another step. All right, once we have our base coat on there of magenta, we're going to start adding in some darks and some lights. All right, so I'm going to get my quinacridone magenta right out of the bottle. That's going to act as my first shadowing color. And I'll tell you where my darkest areas are going to be. Okay, so underneath this butterfly, these petals back here are going to be nice and dark. So I'm going to just add my darker magenta right in here. On this back petal, I'm going to add it down the center of this petal, pushing all the way out. This petal over here. And a little bit of this petal in the front. These two petals, I'm going to add darkness around the edges. On this side of the petal, on this side of the flower, we have very little darkness. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of that shadow down where the flower meets the center there. Okay. So dark, dark, dark close to the middle, dark mostly in the middle. This entire petal is dark. Down here in the front, we've got a little dark. Here along the edge, here along the edge, and then over here just as the petal meets the center. Okay. Now I'm going to mix up an even darker color. So I'm going to pull out this navy blue that I have, equal parts navy blue and equal parts magenta. And this is where we're going to add our darkest one. All right, so I'm going to pull some of that down here where this petal meets the stem. Maybe I'll outline the second petal with this a little bit to really show the darkness there. This petal here, I'm just going to add a little bit of a shadow. Now back here, remember these are so two little blippets back here. I'm going to make those nice and dark. And then over here, kind of in between the petals, where the in between of the petals meets that stuff, I'm going to add that dark color. All right. So those are our two darkest shadow areas. All right, now we're going to add a highlight. And I'm going to use my light pink for the highlight. If you don't have a light pink, just add a lot of white to your magenta. Make a nice bright pink there. So for the highlight, mostly we're going to have that over here. So I'm going to add that highlight on this petal. And if my magenta underneath is a little wet, I'm going to allow that to blend in a little bit. Highlight here. Highlight here. And then on these front petals, mostly on the edge. So again, allowing a little bit of that magenta underneath to blend in. And then even in some areas, I can just add a little white for a little bit of sparkle there. All right, but that is the shading on the flower. All right, now for the most part, this butterfly up top is going to be pretty dry. And so we're going to start adding in our black. All right, so for this, I'm just using pure black, and I'm going to use my round, and I'm going to start up top and work my way down, just so that I'm not putting my hand in a lot of wet paint. You know, be wary of your flower, move your canvas however you need to, but we're going to start filling in this empty space on this butterfly with black. And we do want some nice clean edges, so just be gentle and slow and throw a lot of your paint in here. We're going to fill in all this negative space with black. You can see as we start to fill in all this black here, it really starts to look like the monarch that we wanted this butterfly to be. And this part is a little time consuming, but it's a great opportunity for you to just let your brain check out and fill in these spaces. Next, while we're working with the black, we're just going to fill in this little butterfly head and body. Don't forget to do that. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to mix up a teal, a deep teal, and we are going to slowly add in the stem and add in the leaves. And so for that, I'm going to use my phthalo blue, and I'm just going to add the tiniest pinch of yellow. I want to keep this more on the blue side, more on the teal side. I definitely don't want to turn this green. And then I'm going to just slowly add a nice thin stem with the teal, and I'm going to fill in these leaves. Next, I'm going to grab some light blue permanent. I've actually got plenty on my palette that I can use, and I'm going to swish in a little bit of light blue. I'm going to mix a little bit of this with green. I'm going to make a little light green swoosh, a little light green highlight, and then maybe even a little white highlight in there as well, just to add some brightness to these stems. it's important that I make sure that this butterfly is dry, because I'm going to come in with some white, and I want that white to be nice and pure and not mix in with the black. So I'm going to take a moment here and dry up this butterfly, so bear with me for just a minute, and then we'll move on with adding some spots. So for the white spots, I'm going to get some white on my paint palette, and I'm going to make sure that I put this white paint somewhere where it's not going to get mixed in with any other color. And using a nice small thin brush, thin round brush, I'm going to add these white spots. And most of the white spots are going to go up around the edges of the wings, but certainly this is your butterfly and you can place them wherever you would like. And keep in mind, these are organic shapes. They don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be perfectly round. They don't need to be evenly spaced. Just like every flower in nature is a little different, every butterfly is a little different too. So, you know, just like everybody's freckles are in a different place, every butterfly's spots are just a little bit different. So don't overthink it, and we're just going to add these spots little by little around the edges, and this is really going to make this monarch butterfly come together. while I've got the white out, I'm gonna just add a nice thin highlight on the left side of that wing and on the top side of the bottom wing, and just a little bit on the left side of that very back wing, just to add a little highlight and kind of accentuate those edges. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a little highlight to this buggy body as well. So once you have your wings the way that you like them, just dip into your white paint, and then we're going to add just a little shine where his eyes would be. And then maybe down at the bottom of his face. Just going to give a little wiggle on the upper back of his body with this white, just to give him a little highlight. And then we've got one more thing to do. Can you guess what it is? His legs. So we're going to get into this black paint, thin it out a little bit. If you've got heavy buddy paint, I'm using a nice thin brush. And what you want to do here is we're just going to sketch in some legs, and I'm going to make one coming out from the left there, and then 3 that are appear like they're coming out the right side of the body, and just going to connect to aiming for the middle to back of that flower where he would be sitting. And then that is it. That's all we have for the butterfly. So you'll make sure after you get those nice thin legs in there that you sign the bottom of your piece, and you are ready to go. Thank you so much for joining me for this painting, the pink flower. I really enjoyed painting it with you. I hope that you'll consider sharing it with me. You can do that by tagging me at #PaintRinseRepeat. You can share in my group, or you can tag me with an @PaintRinseRepeat. I would absolutely love to see what you create. Also, I just want to give a shout out to my supporters and mention my membership. So my supporters get each and every class that I have scheduled online every month. It's a Facebook membership, and you can find that at the address below. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Facebook, or you can email me at Tara@PaintRinseRepeat. And you can find me at my website, paintrinserepeat.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. Have a great day.